Welcome back, range fans. Back on the range again today, this time to put an end to the caliber wars. Or maybe not. As you can see, we're here to discuss or to test 9mm today. On my left here, we've got the 9mm Federal HST 124 grain. In the center, we have the 9mm Speer Gold Dot 124 grain. And then on the end, to spice things up a little bit, we have the Speer Gold Dot 9mm 124 grain plus P. If you have not seen the other episodes of Speeds, Feeds, and Ballistics, this episode will conclude the series. It will be the series finale. In Speeds, Feeds, and Ballistics, we have fired the 10mm, the best millimeter, across the chronograph, and also into some ballistics gel from pistol and pistol caliber carbine. We then went on to test, in the second episode, we revived the dead. That's right, folks. Day at the range, revived the dead with a little CPR and brought back the 40 Smith & Wesson. We tested the 40 Smith & Wesson in much the same way, across the chronograph for speeds, into clear ballistics gelatin for penetration test, and we fired a few rounds just to make sure it would feed in both the pistol and pistol caliber carbine. And here we are again, back with the lowly old 9mm. So I've got a confession, a little bit of a confession to make before we start out with the testing. The 9mm you see down front there is the CZP-09. It is the only 9mm that I own. As a matter of fact, a lot of the weapons you see comes from a good friend of mine that trusts me with his weapons for testing on the range. So thank you, and he knows who he is. So we do have the Beretta 9mm Storm with us today as well. And the 40 Smith & Wesson was tested in the same platform, just in 40 Smith & Wesson. This series has been a great series for me to do the testing out here on the range, and also has been quite informative for me, and I hope it has been informative for you all also. Now, let's get to the 9mm testing. Welcome, range fans. Mr. Revolver Guy here with DayAtTheRange.com. All right, folks, we're going to put an end to the caliber wars. Maybe, maybe not. Everybody has their favorites. I'm not one of those guys that subscribe to, if the caliber doesn't begin with 4, it's not a real caliber. The reason I only have one 9mm pistol in my arsenal, or in my collection, is because 40 and 45 is what I have always trained with. Yes, I spent many years in the United States Marine Corps training with 9mm. But while training with 9mm, I also trained outside of the military with 40 and 45. And for me, in my big hands, the pistols that come in 45 and 40 just fits my hand better, which means I tend to shoot a little better with the 40 and 45 and pistol caliber. So enough with the talking. We're starting out with Federal 124 grain HST across the chronograph today. Let's get to it.
$1,165. $1,190. $1,161. $1,168.
Chronograph readings downrange.
$1,107.
Wow, I tell you what, folks, that's probably going to average about 1,150 to 60 feet per second out of the 5-inch barrel CZP-09. By the way, the other pistols that I've tested with, you saw in the 40 Smith & Wesson, It was a Beretta 90-2, and that was a 4.9-inch barrel. So I've tried to keep the barrel length between the 10 millimeter, the 40 Smith & Wesson, and also the 9 millimeter about the same. You've seen the averages in the chronograph and the shadow box of this video. We're going to move on to the Speer Gold Dot now, but I'm really interested to see how 9 millimeter does in the clear ballistics gel, especially this Federal HST, averaging about the same speed as a 40 Smith & Wesson. Oh yeah, and by the way, I will do a closeout video on the Speeds, Feeds, and Ballistics series that compares the 10 millimeter, our best millimeter, against the 40 Smith & Wesson, against the 9 millimeter that we are testing today. And I will have all of the statistics paired right up against one another so you can make your decision. Maybe you are a person like me with very large hands that happens to like the larger frame pistols, which means potentially 40 and 45 or 10 millimeter. Or maybe you really, really love the 9 millimeter. And so what? Who cares? As long as you are training with it and as long as you're effective with it. Let's move on to the Speer Gold Dot. Okay, range fans, we're back on the range with the 124 grain Speer Gold Dot. This is just the standard pressure ammunition. Don't go anywhere because Plus P's coming up next. Let's put 5 rounds down range across the chronograph and get the speeds.
1,131. 1,156. 1,158. 1,146. 1,151.
Whoa, really nice group downrange across the chronograph. So I'm collecting the groups or group size through the chronograph at the same time. So, you know, because I'm trying to be extra careful, as you saw in my 40 Smith & Wesson video, I did shoot the chronograph. So I'm trying to be really, really careful not to let that happen again, but got a really tight group downrange. I do believe that the Federal HST has a little bit more feet per second than the Speer Gold Dot. But still, we got to get to the tail of tape into the clear ballistics gelatin. Let's go back and get the Speer Gold Dot Plus P and see how it performed. I'm loaded up, folks, with the Speer Gold Dot 124 grain Plus P. Hope I'm not rushing through this thing because I'm really, really anxious to get to the ballistics gel testing. I'm really anxious to get to the ballistics gel testing for the true comparison between the 3 that we have on the range today and also the 10 millimeter and 40 Smith & Wesson. Folks, I'm loaded up with the Speer Gold Dot 124 grain Plus P. We're going to see how it performs downrange. Then we're going to get to the clear ballistics gel test of testing what we have on the range with us today against the 10 millimeter and 40 Smith & Wesson.
$1,169. 1,217. 1,202. 1,209. 1,197.
So the Plus P does pick up a little velocity as we would expect. I don't know, maybe I was expecting a little bit more. I think it maybe picks up about 30 to 50 feet per second. You saw the group and the feet per second and the shadow box at the end of the video. We'll post it all for everybody to see. Let's break out that carbine and see how the 9 millimeter does in 16-inch barrel from the Beretta CX4 Storm carbine. We've got the Federal HST 124 grain loaded up in the 16-inch barrel 9 millimeter Beretta Storm carbine. Let's put it across the chronograph.
One 1,273. 1,253. 1,238. 1,233. 1,230.
All right. That Federal HST picked up quite a bit of velocity downrange. Let's load it up with the Speer Gold Dot. All right, I'm loaded up with the Speer Gold Dot, 124 grain. The first 5 was the Federal HST. Let's see how the Speer Gold Dot does in the 16-inch barrel.
1,134. 1,223. 1,247. 1,254. 1,243.
Woo! Picked up quite a bit of velocity downrange. The Speer Gold Dot, non-plus P or standard pressure ammunition. About 1,230, 1,240 feet per second. Let's move on to the Speer Gold Dot, 124 plus P, and see what it does out of the 16-inch barrel. Back at it. The range is hot. Let's see how hot we can make it with these plus P Speer Gold Dots, 124 grain out of the 16-inch barrel. You saw the Speer Gold Dot averaged about, 1220, 1230 feet per second. Let's see if plus P makes any difference in a 16-inch barrel across the chronograph.
One 1,163. 1,249. 1,267. 1,265. 1,261.
You know what, folks? The numbers don't lie. Plus P out of a 16-inch carbine, maybe not that much of a difference. Maybe gain 10 to 20 feet per second. But now we're going to see if it makes any difference in the clear ballistics gelatin. All right. Man, so much anxiety today around this 9mm and clear ballistics gelatin. Really anxious to see how it does against the 10mm, the best millimeter, in my opinion, the 40 Smith & Wesson, and then we got the Federal HST and 9mm. So let's get the tail of the tape going and see how this Federal HST 124 grain fares in the clear ballistics gelatin. I will tell you, I can see why so many people love 10mm. These big old meat hooks of mine, man, it's such soft shooting, especially in this low bore axis CZP09. Visit dayattherange.com for a complete review of the suppressor ready night sights CZP09. Let's break out the tail of the tape. Well, folks, we got the Federal HST fired in the clear ballistics gelatin. I forgot to hit the record button. I had some friends come up and we got to yabbing and talking, and I forgot to hit the record button when they left off to leave me with the filming. But we still can see what the clear ballistics gelatin and the Federal HST has done. Starts to open up almost immediately within 1 inch. Leaves a pretty good cavitation. You go down the clear ballistics gelatin, and there you have it. The Federal HST right there, I'm going to say about 14 inches. It did open up pretty good. About 14 inches, folks. Let's break out the tail of the tape and see exactly what it is. There you have it, folks. The tail of the tape tells no lie. 15.5 inches of penetration out of the Federal HST 124 grain 5-inch barrel CZ P09. Let's move on to the Speer Gold Dot. Back at it, 124 grain, Speer Gold Dot in the clear ballistics gelatin. Man, I tell you what, I can probably get used to the old 9mm. This is just a soft shooter. Let's go down range, see what the tail of the tape has to say about the Speer Gold Dot and 9mm, 124 grain. All right, we're back with the 9mm Speer Gold Dot, 124 grain plus P. We know it makes a little difference in the barrel and feet per second. Let's see if it makes any difference in the clear ballistics gelatin. Makes that gelatin jump down range for sure. Does anybody want to take a guess? Here's that Speer Gold Dot. Cavitation looks about the same of the Federal HST. There's that Federal HST at 15.5 inches. Notice anything? That Speer Gold Dot, it went through both ballistics blocks, and the tail of the tape with the official measure says the Speer Gold Dot comes in at 18.5 inches, folks. No, let's call it 18 inches, but I will tell you there was a lot of bounce back. If you look at the forward edge of the wound track, that Speer Gold Dot actually comes in at about 19.5 inches, and the bullet itself comes to rest at about 18 inches. Let's see the top of it. There you have it. Federal HST, Speer Gold Dot, standard pressure, 124 grains. Let's move on to the plus P. All right, guys, I got the old CX4 carbine 16-inch barrel loaded up in succession with the Federal HST, 124 grain, Speer Gold Dot, 124 grain, and Speer Gold Dot plus P in 124 grain in this magazine. We're going to send all 3 shots down range, and then we're going to give you a clear view of how each one of them performed in the clear ballistics gelatin. .124 grain out of the 16-inch barrel actually left the clear ballistics gelatin, folks, went into the backstop. We'll put another one through, see how it performs. Let's go down range, see the old tail of the tape. All right, guys. First shot, 124 grain, came out of the clear ballistics gelatin into the backstop. We'll put another one through. But then you have the second shot, 124 grain plus P. It comes to rest. Let's see here, guys. The 124 grain plus P, you can tell there, whoo, what a mushroom. What a mushroom, folks. The old tail of the tape says it comes in at about 15 inches. About 15 inches there. And then you have the 124 grain plus P, I'm sorry, standard pressure on this side. Let's go around to the other side of the block. And you can tell it mushroomed quite a bit as well. And that comes in at about, the tail of the tape says that comes in at about 14.5. Yeah, leading edge 14.5 to 14.75 inches. You can definitely tell that with the extra velocity out of the 16-inch barrel, that all of the rounds mushroom quite a bit more, has less penetration due to the expansion of the 9mm. So folks, what do you think? Does this end the caliper wars? Again, maybe not. Choose your caliper, choose what you shoot the best, choose what you like, and make sure you always keep your rounds on target. And I think you'll be well suited with either 10mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, or 9mm. Starting out with the Federal HST out of the CZ P09, retained 121.5 grains of weight. It expanded to 0.593. Then we move on to the Speer Gold Dot standard pressure. It retained 124.9 grains of weight and expanded to 0.604, a little bit larger than the Federal HST. Then we move on to the Speer Gold Dot Plus P. The Plus P somehow picked up weight at 125 grains and expanded to 0.618. That is one thing that is consistent throughout my testing. The Plus P or higher velocity rounds most definitely expanded wider. Moving on to the Speer Gold Dot out of the 16-inch barrel CX4. Again, it picked up a little weight. Maybe there's a little gel stuck in those pedestals. 124.3 grains of weight, expanded to a whopping 0.751. Moving on to the Plus P Speer Gold Dot, retained 123.8 grains of weight and expanded to 0.754. So there you have it, folks. Don't forget to visit dayattherange.com for detailed reviews of each of these pistols and pistol caliber carbine, as well as the upcoming video which concludes the speeds, feeds, and ballistic series that shows the 10mm, 40 Smith & Wesson, and 9mm side by side. Will this put an end to the caliber wars? Stay tuned. Mr. Revolver Guy at dayattherange.com.